We're so back, boys! Yeah! Sorry, over-exaggerated reaction, but it's been 3 weeks, man. It's been a long and grueling 3 weeks, but One Piece is finally here. Welcome in, guys, to One Piece chapter 1112. As per usual, I'm going into this expecting you guys to already read the spoilers, and we're really just going to focus in on 1 or 2 points. Today, what I really want to focus in on is the ending of this chapter, because we kind of get left on a cliffhanger. You know, of course, there's a lot of good things about this chapter. There's a lot of things I'm excited for, but I will admit, the final bullet point where Marcus Mars sees something above him, I was losing my mind. So, you know, just to recap Mars and everything he's done thus far in this chapter, but Mars and York went around, found the broadcasting room, he destroyed it, nothing happened, the message is still going on, so Mars ends up flying to Punk Records. You know, he's like, hey, if I destroy Punk Records, we'll be fine. Or at least that's what's probably going through his mind. Because when he arrives at it, he says, hey, Vegapunk, you've run out of luck. So, you know, it implies that destroying Punk Records would stop the broadcast. But before he can actually do that, something pops up. You know, something above him has him take notice of it. And I'm like, yo, what could it be? So today we are going to speculate and guess what Marcus Mars sees above him. And also we'll talk a little bit about the broadcast as well. And also I would love for you guys to chime in with your opinions too. It kind of reminds me of when we were all trying to guess who the ally was going to be arriving here on Egghead Island, and everybody was throwing out different answers. You know, I was on Team Dragon, I saw some cross-guild answers, some Moria answers, and then lo and behold, it was the Giants and everybody was wrong. You know, this is the fun part about One Piece. It's always fun coming together as a group and guessing what's going to happen next and being vehemently wrong the next week. So just cutting back right to it, I don't believe that whatever Marcus is seeing above him is related to the broadcast. I think the broadcast is either coming from Punk Records or an entirely different island. I really don't believe that the broadcast can be stopped at all. I really do think that Vegapunk has thought through everything, right? We're talking about the world's smartest man here. He has said in his own broadcast that the chances of somebody stopping it are unbelievably low. You know, he must have accounted for the Gorosei. He accounted for CP0. He probably accounted for all of the Marines as well because he knows what happened at Ohara. Like, Vegapunk isn't dumb. So yeah, whatever Mars sees above him, I believe just straight up has nothing to do with the broadcast signal. And plus, if you go back to the panels where we saw Egghead Island from afar, you'll realize that nothing is above Punk Records, dude. Like, we have seen this island on a cloudy day, on a sunny day, a clear day. Like, there's nothing there. Nothing is built above it, which now leads me to where I think this is going to go. I actually think this is going to be a third party, which I know sounds really blasphemous, but hear me out. I think that this is actually the work of Emu, because Emu's the one character so far that is, you know, heavily tied to the broadcast that has not actually made any remarks yet. You know, we haven't seen Emu react. We haven't seen Emu say, hey, Gorosei, you know, do your jobs. No. Emu's been on the sidelines. Emu should be absolutely sweating bullets right now, considering how detrimental this broadcast would be if it went out. So I think that the third party that is arriving here on Egghead Island is Emu. Well, okay, not Emu, but I believe it is the same weapon that they used to destroy Leloucia. I feel like that would make a lot of sense for a bunch of different reasons. So first up, you know, going back to Leloucia, something the civilians said really stood out to me. They said, hey, whatever destroyed Leloucia towered above even the clouds, right? So we're talking about a sky ship or a sky weapon that is really high up in the air. And then we have Egghead Island. The labo phase that Marcus Mars is on a cloud, so the Leloucia weapon being even above that makes a lot of sense. And here's the thing too with the Leloucia weapon. Emu doesn't have to fire it off. It could just be a precaution, saying, hey, when we hit that 1 minute mark, if you guys can't stop the broadcast, I'm going to destroy the island, right? Because when you really think about it, Emu and the rest of the Gorosei, they don't want to get rid of this island. Well, I know they're Buster calling it, but they wanted the Pacifista. They wanted the Mother Flame. They wanted York. They wanted the Seraphim. But when you weigh them against the broadcast, it's like, okay, you know, like I think they want the broadcast more. I think they want to stop this message no matter what. So yeah, I think Emu could just say, hey, like, I'm not going to destroy it right away. I'll give you guys some time. If you can't do it before Vegapunk's timer is up, then I'm just gonna Lelucia Egghead Island. I'm gonna delete it off of the maps. I think that is very plausible, and it will live up to the Egghead Island incident name. And not to mention, but I do think Egghead Island being destroyed is a great way for the Straw Hats to make their escape, because the Marines are gonna be too busy rescuing themselves. They're going to be too busy bracing themselves from the impact of Lelucia. And I'd like to imagine that even the Gorsei would be scrambling to get off the island and save themselves. So I do think that this is very plausible, and the Straw Hats would have a very easy escape route if this happens, right? Because, you know, like when you think about it, when Lelucia happened, all of a sudden there were sea quakes around the area, you know, the water levels were rising, tides were going rampant. So yeah, I think those would be the perfect conditions for Luffy and the crew to actually leave this island scot-free. Because otherwise, I don't think it would be that easy to actually leave Egghead. Okay, like just imagine it for a second, right? Imagine there is no Lelucia, Egghead isn't destroyed, there is no greater threat coming to the island. The Straw Hats get on the giant ship, they set sail to Elbaf. And then what? There's 100 battleships here. Well, okay, there's like 70 battleships because the Giants destroyed a lot of them. You know, and then the Pacifista destroyed some too. There's like 50 battleships still here. The Gorsei are still here. We got guys who can fly who are on this island. They're not gonna let the Straw Hats get away. They're gonna chase them all the way back to Elbaf, most likely, especially if they have the satellites with them. I highly doubt that the Marines and Gorsei would see the Straw Hats setting sail and say, we'll get them next time. Those blasted Straw Hats, you know, like, no. I really do think that they would give chase, and we would have to find some way to deter them from doing that. Of course, I think the Straw Hats and the Giants would win the battle outright, but when it comes to the Gorsei, I'm just not too sure yet, since we can't really hurt them. I still think throwing them into the ocean is a really good idea, but we haven't had the chance to try that out yet. So yeah, I do think Uranus and the Lelucia events could happen here on Egghead Island. As far as what that means for the broadcast signal, I don't think that means anything. You know, of course, like I said, you know, I do think there's like a 50% chance that Punk Records is projecting the broadcast, but I also do think there's like another 50% chance that the broadcast is coming from a different island, and or it just straight up cannot be stopped whatsoever. And it would be a good gotcha moment if Emu Lelucia's Egghead Island, and then Emu, you know, like he wipes the sweat off of his brow and he's like, thank God, you know, nobody's gonna find out about the Void Century. And then he hears the Denden Mushi go off. And then it's Dr. Vegapunk dropping all of the Void Century knowledge on us. I think that would be huge. And that could be a really good moment where Vegapunk gets the W even after he has died. Also, another cool thing too would be if the camera flips around and Vegapunk actually shows everybody around the world what's happening here on Egghead Island, right? They'd see the Gorsei in their demon forms, they would see Egghead Island get Lelucia'd, and that itself would be a massive blow against the world government, right? Civilians wouldn't like it, saying, hey, the government has the power to just destroy an entire kingdom just like that? I don't like them. You know, that itself is big. But I do think there is a lot of Void Century lore that Vegapunk has, so I think we're going to get a lot of different things with Vegapunk. I think Vegapunk is going to spark this final war even. But yeah, that is my guess as to what Marcus Mars sees at the end of the chapter. But I also have another wild and crazy idea. So I bet there's a lot of people out there right now who think my Lelucia idea is pretty crazy. And that's totally fair. We're just kind of throwing ideas at the wall. But what would you say if I told you that I had an idea even crazier than Lelucia? What if what Marcus Mars is seeing in the sky is actually Enel? What if Enel is finally coming back home after his, you know, long trips to the moon? Enel is making a homecoming. So I don't know about you guys, but I think the Enel route is really funny, because Enel somehow worms his way into every single arc. He did this for Whole Cake Island, it happened for Wano, and now here on Egghead Island too. You know, maybe Enel's gonna come in, you know, eventually we're gonna have to get it right? It's like when people say, hey, Dragon's coming. It's one of those things where the longer you keep on guessing it, eventually you'll get it right, because we'll have to see him by the end of the series. You know, Enel is one of those characters. Not as important as Dragon in my opinion, but Enel does know about the ancient weapons. Enel did get a lot of crazy lore from the moon. So at some point, he's going to have to come back into the series. We just don't know when or how. You know, like when you ask somebody, why would Enel come back? Nobody really has an answer. No joke, but everybody I've asked about Enel has said, oh, he's gonna come in during Elbath. And then I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, I don't know. He's just here. That's just how it is. That is how the Enel conversation usually goes. You know, for Dragon, it's like, oh, Luffy, world government, Gorosei. You know, like there's so many reasons why. But for Enel, it's like, oh, I think he wants to rule the world still. We're not really too sure. But yeah, I think Enel is the fun answer with this one. But I'm personally on Team Leloucia. I've actually seen some people say this could be Kaido, and I think that'd be kind of cool, but I don't know why he would be here. Maybe he wants to help Joy Boy. I think that'd be pretty big, right? Oh, Albert talked about Joy Boy. I'm not Joy Boy. Luffy's him. Let's go help him out, right? Hey, maybe Kaido is like Kenpachi from Bleach or Douglas Bullet from Stampede, where after Luffy beat him, he's like, whoa, no, like, I want to help out Straw Hat, you know, like, nobody can beat Straw Hat Luffy except for me. And then he's that muscle-headed character that just comes in and he's kind of like this, not a good guy, but not a bad guy kind of thing. I think that could be Kaido's role too, but I don't think it's Kaido. I think it's too soon. You know, we just left Wano, right? Kaido, give us a break. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's a lot of fun guesses we can have with this one. And what I like about this mystery the most is that whatever is coming here is coming from the sky. Yeah, that's a weird way to put it, but you guys know what I mean, right? It's up there in the clouds, man. Like when it comes to pirates and whoever was coming here to Egghead Island to assist us, that was pretty easy because 90% of the characters in the verse have a pirate ship. As far as who can fly or what's in the sky, we're very limited with our options. Also, one last thing I do want to make note of real quick, though, is that somebody said that this could be the ancient robot attacking Mars, and I don't think it's the ancient robot, because the ancient robot, from what we last saw, was actually standing up on the Fabrio phase, the ground level of Egghead Island. So saying that this giant robot is going to fly up into the sky and fight Mars out of everybody, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't think it's insane. I think the ancient robot could do it, but I feel like a lot of people would have noticed a giant flying robot. And keep in mind, this robot is bigger than the actual giants on the island. So if Mars is taken by surprise by the ancient robot, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, but another route I just completely forgot about until the end of this video would be Vivi, Wapol, and Morgans. That's an easy one too. You know, Vivi, Wapol, and Morgans coming here to Egghead Island makes a lot of sense. They read the newspaper. Vivi wants to assist Luffy. We also know that Morgans loves Luffy, right? He loves writing articles about the guy, and he is a news reporter. He wants to be in the middle of the action. He wants to see what is going down here. So it makes sense as to why they would come. But my problem with them showing up here, not a problem, but I feel like if they were to show up here, we would have to protect them, right? Because Marcus Mars wouldn't just let Big News Morgans come by and get all this juicy information. No, I feel like they would take him down. So if that's the case, then maybe we would be in a situation where one of the Straw Hats would have to fight Mars head on, which I think might actually be kind of plausible. Okay, so hear me out. So the strongest Straw Hat who's on the Labo phase right now is Zoro, right? Zoro and Jinbei, they just saw Mars not too long ago, so maybe they're the ones who tries to stop him from attacking Vivi, Wapol, and Morgans, and that would be kind of interesting because on the bottom floor, which, you know, I didn't talk about this until just now too, but V Nasujuro is about to attack Bonnie. And Sanji is about to fight V Nasujuro since he's the closest Straw Hat there, right? A lot of people want Zoro versus Venus, but Sanji is the closest Straw Hat. And now we could have an incident with Marcus Mars, who I believe is Sanji's opponent. But Zoro, on the flip side, is the one who's fighting him. This could be like a nice like misdirect, right? You know, Sanji versus Venus, Zoro versus Mars. Bad matchups, right? Not the matchups we would want for the Straw Hats. And then in the future, we can get the inverse where Zoro's fighting Venus and then Sanji's fighting Mars. And then in that matchup, everything just falls perfectly. I think that would be pretty good, actually. You know what? Yeah. Forget Leloucia, forget Kaido and Enel. I like Vivi, Wapol, and Morgans. I feel like that one makes a lot of sense, and I wouldn't really mind it either. Because there have been a lot of theories floating around for a long time now about how Vivi is going to be the one who eats the paw fruit in the future. I know, kind of a wacky theory if you never heard of it before, but with Vivi being here on Egghead Island, that could be kind of plausible, right? Because if Kuma dies, which I think he is going to die very soon, right? Like, he's kind of malfunctioning, you know, Saturn tried to destroy him. He's not really moving right now. I feel like Kuma is going to die soon. So if Vivi were around in his final moments, maybe the fruit would respawn nearby, kind of like Smiley on Punk Hazard, where Smiley died and then the fruit popped up right beside him. Maybe that could happen with Kuma, and maybe Vivi does eat the paw fruit, and maybe that's how they escape off of this island. Yeah, no, I like this idea a lot, actually. Dang, it's funny how that happens. You know, I turned on the camera and I was like, okay, time to convince people about Uranus. And then as time goes on, it's like, wait a minute, Uranus is a dumb idea. Vivi, Wapple, and Morgans, I like that more. But yeah, hey, let me know which idea was your guys' favorites. Let me know what ideas you have about this too. I would love to hear all your thoughts and opinions down below. Thank you for coming into this rambling session. It means a lot to me. And yeah, I'll catch you guys when the full spoilers drop. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.